Okay, today we're going somewhere a little bit strange. A place where all the usual rules just don't apply. Welcome to the Fuzzy Place. It's the kind of digital counterculture built on a pretty radical idea. What if the best way to fight the system isn't to hide from it, but to just completely confuse it with beautiful, coordinated chaos? But, before we dive into the chaos, we have to understand the order that it's rebelling against. And the problem is actually pretty simple, but it's also deeply personal. Every single click, every search, every like you've ever made, it's all data. Data that gets scooped up, analyzed, and then sold off to the highest bidder. Your attention has become the product, and you're the one being spent.
So what this creates is something that people call a digital panopticon. Now, that's an old concept for a prison where a single guard can see every single prisoner, but the prisoners never know if they're actually being watched at that exact moment. Today, that guard isn't some person in a tower, it's this huge automated system that we can't even see. And here's the thing, the watchers aren't just one group. You've got government agencies with access, you've got social media algorithms that are literally curating your reality for you, and you've got these massive platforms that are designed from the ground up to sell your attention. It's a whole system of control, and it's all pointed right at you. So the typical response to all of this surveillance is to try and hide, right? You encrypt your data, you use a VPN, you try to go off the grid. But this brings up a really critical question. Is being invisible actually the same thing as being powerful? Well, the argument here is that all those tools, they're just defensive. A VPN, or encryption, doesn't actually disrupt the system of surveillance. It just makes you a slightly harder target inside of it. You're still playing their game, you're just using a better shield. And this gets right to the heart of the problem. True invisibility means you have to opt out completely, which in today's world means losing access to your job, your friends, your community, all of it. So hiding isn't a strategy for winning. It's just a strategy for maybe not losing quite so badly. Clearly, a new, more proactive approach is needed. So, if hiding is a dead end, what's the alternative? Well, welcome to the weaponization of nonsense. This is where things get really weird, and it's where the Fuzzy Place completely flips the script. Instead of hiding from the machine, they've decided to just feed it garbage. The key idea here is something called fuzzing. Now, this term actually comes from the world of cybersecurity. It's what testers do when they throw tons of random, invalid data at a system just to see if they can break it. But here, it's being repurposed as a kind of cultural jamming, a way to create digital camouflage. So what does fuzzing look like in the real world? Well, imagine hundreds of people all getting together to fill out online forms with nothing but cat emojis, or flooding a social media hashtag with total gibberish. It's not about hiding your own data. It's about burying it in this giant avalanche of noise, making it literally impossible to find any meaningful patterns. And why does this actually work? It's because algorithms at their core are not built to understand what's real or authentic. They're just built to measure engagement. 1,000 people posting nonsense looks, to an algorithm, looks like a super popular, highly engaging event. It absolutely cannot tell the difference between genuine interest and manufactured chaos. And that's the loophole they exploit. Okay, so the theory is fascinating, right? But what does the strange collective actually do? Let's go inside the Fuzzy Place and see this whole strategy in action. Let's just run through a few of their bizarre and honestly, strangely effective projects. First up, their front door is a school that's totally free, but it's not a school like you're thinking. It's actually a series of capture the flag games where all the members work together on these chaotic quests, like, say, heisting content from another community's free trial period. It builds trust not through some boring mission statement, but through shared mischief. Next, they just straight up game the algorithm. They'll target new platforms where the algorithms are still a little weak, and they'll use their coordinated noise to create these huge artificial spikes in engagement. This makes them look incredibly popular, which then attracts genuinely curious people who show up wondering what all the chaos is about. And they do all this with a $0 marketing budget. And get this, it's not just a digital thing either. They treat performance as a real strategy. For instance, they sent a group of mimes to a major art fair. Now, in a place that is all about being seen and heard, their coordinated silence created this incredible amount of intrigue and confusion. It was the perfect embodiment of their philosophy: communicate through mystery. And somehow, they've actually turned this into a sustainable model.
So how in the world do you make money from an audience you've gathered through pure confusion? You do it through mystery. They build up this captive audience that has no idea what's happening, and then they suddenly release these art drops, like a limited edition t-shirt, turning all that curiosity directly into cash.
Now, this all sounds like a lot of fun, but, operating on the very edge like this, well, it has its price. And that brings us to the chaos, the community, and the very real consequences. Look, this strategy is not without some serious risk. It is walking a very thin tightrope in some legal and ethical gray areas. They could easily be violating platforms' terms of service. They're raising intellectual property concerns with their heisting. And honestly, the long-term sustainability of a community that's built on pure chaos is, by its very definition, completely unproven.
And that's really the point, isn't it? This is not some mainstream solution for digital privacy. This is for a very specific tribe. It's for the artists looking for new ways to do things, the hackers who operate in those ethical frameworks, the performers, the social outliers. Basically, it's for anyone who is just fundamentally fed up with surveillance capitalism and is willing to refuse to play by its rules.
So the core philosophy here is actually a really beautiful paradox. It's about using artificial chaos to create a space for real, authentic human connection. The idea is that in a world that's so full of fake, curated content, maybe the only way to be real is to embrace absurdity. It's about making the algorithms totally irrelevant so that people can actually find each other underneath all that digital noise. Which leaves us with one final provocative question to think about. As our online world becomes more and more artificial, more managed, and more predictable, is the most human thing we can do to fight back just to use nonsense? Is the only authentic path we have left the one that embraces the absurd?